Click it.
It's clicked.
Click it for
We're started.
here we are, another episode of Unfiltered Copenhagen.
Yeah.
With me, Rodolfo, and
Ford, as always.
good old Ford. It's been a while, Ford. We missed last week.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since the last episode. We went to Strunu last week. Or Strunu.
Struno, yeah.
Strunu. No, I
It's
think it's a U, not an O. Because it's a U.
Struno.
Strunu. Almost. Yeah.
Whatever.
Fucking Danish is
It's an
hard.
island
Mm-hmm.
in Fyn.
Went out there, did a whole lot of nothing. It's kind of boring out there, but it's pretty peaceful.
It's very nice if you want just to be kind of away from civilization.
Solitude.
I mean, it's not solitude when you have 5 people.
Yeah, but if you went there by yourself, you'd pretty much...
I think it would be a great place to go if I wanted to just get some music written or something like that. You know, just take a small synth and a guitar
Mm-hmm.
and go there for a week, because there's really not much to do in that fucking island.
No.
You can go for a walk. You can basically see the whole island. You can see the whole town in less than 30 minutes. And you can probably see pretty much the whole island in what, 1.5 hours?
Something like that.
And they have a new football field for kids. It's a very nice place to decompress
Near,
and run away from the
your problems
of
and good internet.
urban civilization.
Can run away from good internet connection as well.
Yeah, I don't expect to have great internet connection.
Well, apparently you can get a proper wired internet from TDC there. It's just where we went didn't have it, so we were stuck on like a 4G hotspot thing. Not the best signal out there.
But I do like. I mean, I think it's part of the
allure is being disconnected.
the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in an island, or on an island rather. So there is already, even if subconsciously, there's already a feel of being isolated, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you can't get out of there unless you're really good at swimming, or you take the fucking ferry.
Or a helicopter.
That's true. Yeah, I guess you can have an helicopter. Well, we don't. So we can't really get out of there without swimming or ferry. And not having internet just adds to it. You know, it's almost like going to the woods, but you're not really in the woods. You have like, 200 people that live there?
Mm-hmm. I think
around
150, there? 200, something like that. It's a small little island. You take the ferry from Rudkøbing.
Yeah.
Isn't that the closest?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool down there.
I like it. We've been there, 3 times?
I think, yeah, that was the 3rd time. Yeah. It's nice to get away and just kind of have a man's weekend, right? Cook some good food.
Yeah.
Chill. Light a fire, chop some wood.
We actually planned on recording a podcast there, but...
didn't work out that well.
No, it didn't. We just got busy.
The thing was, we had the mic set up ready to go, but I remember we were listening to music, and really for the podcast to have any kind of... Like, we weren't sure if we would publish it or not based on the quality because we didn't have the normal mics there. But if we'd have kept the music going, I think it would have been a problem with like copyright stuff or whatever, and the recording wouldn't have been that good. And because it's so quiet and kind of, in a sense, boring out there, without the music, it was just like crickets chirping, you know?
It's also, we had other people there, so we didn't want to just... I mean, I didn't want it to just be me and you, so go to a different room, you know? I mean, we're there as a group. And I always felt that maybe other people don't really want to...
record it either.
Yeah, to just listen to the two of us talk. Or
I
mean, they could pitch in, that's the expression, right?
Yeah, but it's kind of like imposing an activity out there. Like, hey guys, you guys going to have to deal with us doing the podcast for the next hour and a half or whatever. We should have done it anyway.
These people.
So speaking of being stranded on an island, I don't even think you could swim out of there because the water at this time of year is probably not too inviting.
So well, I definitely couldn't for it because I'm
not a strong swimmer.
I'm amateur swimmer, let's say. I mean, I learned how to swim 2 years ago. I've mentioned it here before. I'm just not that comfortable if the water is
deep.
Yeah.
And expansive.
I've never really swam in I don't know if I call it high. Would you call it high sea?
Maybe not
there.
high seas, but open water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never really swam in open water, only in pools. The deepest I've swam, the deepest pool I've swam in was like 1 meter and 80, which is my height. So even though I could definitely I couldn't, like, I would be completely underneath the water.
You can still touch the bottom and bounce off of it.
Yes, like it's not like, oh
That
shit,
gave
I
you a little
actually
bit
need.
of confidence.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that's what I learned how to swim. It was in DGI Buin.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
a good thing you learned how to swim. I think everybody should know.
yeah, I think so as well.
They run
I
classes there pretty much, I guess, what, year
I
round
think it's
or
year round. Yeah, they
for
just
like adults as well to learn how to
yes,
swim?
yes, yes, yes. They have different tiers. They have at least two, like one for adults who don't know anything, which was me.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I was basically afraid of putting my head underneath the water because, well, I can't breathe down here, and uh, and I didn't know how to swim. I didn't know how to float because I was too afraid of water to actually relax and just float.
Yeah.
Anyway, all that. And within, what was it, 8 weeks, I believe? 8 weeks, I was comfortable enough to at least,
Not drown.
yeah, to at least not drown. Hey, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
hey,
Yeah. No,
it's
it's
well,
that's
this thing would have killed me 2 months ago, and now it doesn't anymore.
yeah.
It's
It's good stuff. Well,
it felt a little bit like, imagine if you all of a sudden you learned how to fly. I know it's not the same, but there's this environment where you can't move.
operate
Yeah, you can't really operate or move,
and suddenly you
and
can.
so all of a sudden you can. You
That
know,
feels a little bit liberating.
it does. It makes me feel a bit like a Superman.
Mhm. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get too
No, no,
cocky.
no, 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 no. No,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
like that I'm having a new power that I can
Yeah.
decide to develop further or not, which I haven't really, but I haven't forgotten it.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know.
Did you always know how to swim?
I think so. Yeah, I started swimming at a super young age. I can't really remember not being able to swim. I think they put me in the pool when I was like 3, 4, 5 years old, or
They just toss you there,
they
and
put you. They bring you to the pool with the little floaty arms,
mhm.
and you just start floating around, and eventually, at a certain age, you take the armbands off and start swimming around. I think in the U.S., like swimming is a pretty big activity because I mean you don't really have a lot of personal swimming pools here, but in the U.S., it's like a lot of people have swimming pools in their backyard.
Yeah,
Like, so I guess it's just more common, more accepted, more of something to do. It's inherently pretty dangerous. I think a lot of kids die every year from drowning accidents and stuff like that.
in swimming pools.
Yeah, just in swimming pools. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And the ocean. I mean, beaches and stuff like that. But but yeah, I also played water polo for a period when I was in like from fifth until eighth grade or something, 3 or 4 years. I played water polo. Dude, that is probably the most intense cardio you'll ever do. Like for real. Because I ran cross country, I did track and field, I did like some hurdles, all that. But when I did water polo, I mean you're treading, not only are you treading water for like 30 minutes to an hour, you're also having to sprint around and jump up out of the water and chase down the ball and block and chase down other players and stuff like that. It's crazy. It's crazy difficult to do that.
Yeah, I've never played water polo for obvious reasons,
Yeah.
but it sounds okay. I do enjoy swimming. I think it's good. It feels good.
Hmm.
It feels good. It's fun. I actually remember that I enjoyed going to the classes very much because it's fun being in the water. And I've always, like, I've spent so much time in Las Vegas,
Hmm.
and that I happen often to be with friends who were in the swimming pool, and I just saw them
Having
jumping and
fun.
having fun,
You're
and
always
I'm
that
just,
one
yeah,
guy
I'm
like
just like,
outside the pool.
yeah,
Hey guys,
smiling, but in the inside I think, "Oh, motherfuckers,
don't splash me.
I want to do that shit as well."
Yeah. But no, you
Um,
can
yeah, I get probably
splash
not to the
around a little
same
bit.
extent, but I can splash around. When we were in Spain in what, April, May,
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah, we the last times that I've been, it was Spain. But the last times I've been within a range of a swimming pool and with people who were there just having fun, I've always joined.
Yeah.
It's like being it's I'm a new man for it.
Yeah, the only thing is that I believe if you're going to be swimming and you have your preference, right? I really prefer swimming in like a saltwater pool than the chlorine because the chlorine really wrecks your skin and your eyes and your like nostrils and hair and everything. It really
Hmm.
fucks it up. But beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, I also heard that when you swim in open waters,
Hmm.
like in the sea,
Yeah,
because of the sea being salty or like the water having salt,
it's easier to float.
it's easier to float. And
Yeah,
I haven't experienced that yet.
yeah. Well, you could also experience the same thing in a saltwater pool. I don't know if the concentration is quite the same, but yeah, they say in the Dead Sea the salt concentration is so high
Hmm.
that you can basically just I guess things float in there very easily.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Was that where Jesus was seen walking in water? Because then that's kind of cheating, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't thought about it, but where
Could
did
be.
Jesus actually walk in water? Allegedly,
I don't know. I'm not a biblical scholar.
you're not. For,
Although,
you could have tricked me with that hair.
yeah, although I walk by every morning and when I get off this at the station at Norport and walk into the city, there's always those like learn the Bible guys there.
But giving leaflets,
Yeah,
or
giving out leaflets, like just standing there, like yeah. What if intelligent design is real and like learn the Bible and all this? I just walk by them every day, but I mean, they stand out there for like 8, 10 hours a day, just handing out leaflets, talking to people.
wow.
They're not aggressive. Like they don't bother you unless you talk to them. But
Hmm.
they're not like the Scientology people. But
I can feel that you have some
well, it's a
emotions about Scientology
well.
people. Go
I
on. Go
mean,
on.
whatever. It doesn't even matter if it's the Scientology people or the UNICEF people or the other ones. Like it's just annoying when you're going about your normal day and you clearly don't have time to be bothered by some guy and they can see you kind of like walking past. Sometimes they're good about it. They realize like you're kind of giving them the vibe like I don't want to talk to you, and they just leave you alone. But then sometimes, even though you're giving them that vibe, it's like they don't care. They're like, "Hey, do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, or fucking Scientology? You want to take a personality test? You want to donate some money? Fuck no, I'm walking to work, dude. Leave me alone."
Yeah, I usually don't mind that, except it's the same thing as with beggars on Istigal, Like I don't mind
Them trying.
everyone, yeah, every once in a while people trying or just trying to see if I want to talk to them or give them money or whatever. I mean, it's okay. I'm in a public space. I'm exposing myself, so to say. Exposing myself, that's I'm not exposing myself, but I'm in a public that was a wrong choice of words, wasn't it?
Yeah, well,
Anyway, I'm in a
opening yourself up to communication.
yes, exactly. I'm in an open space. It's bound to happen that
Hmm.
these things. The problem is I live on Istergel, so I walk there every day, and we work close to Stoll, to the walking street. So we walk there every day. And when you pass these people every day, I mean, then it starts getting
Yeah, they
a bit
ask you once a
annoying.
day,
Exactly, because
and
they don't know.
every
I
single
understand.
time
They
you're
don't
like,
know. They don't know my face.
yeah.
Also, then there's the I don't know UNICEF guys, and then there's this money for this or money for that,
Yeah, yeah.
or just it's
Dude, if I gave money to every single one of those people that asked me for money for like a monthly thing and all that, not even just like homeless people
mhm.
asking directly for contributions, but if I gave money to every one of those organizations that posts up on Fieldstro and asks you for shit like UNICEF and I don't know, I don't know if it's Red Cross, but there's all these different like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different organizations. And that street is so good for them because, dude, you can't juke them. Like, if they want to talk to you, they're going to talk to you. You can't really just walk around them. Like, they're going to at least get a word in, Hey, excuse
Yeah,
me. Hey, do you have a.
just
No.
eye contact.
Yeah. I try to just fucking, I'm like, oh shit, here they are up here. I like walk to the other side of the street, As soon as they start with their opening. They always try to say some shit that makes it so you have to kind of engage. I'm like,
Oh,
sorry, I don't have any time.
the the other day I was actually just looking at the around Gameltoll.
Yeah.
I was just looking outside the window, and I was just I don't know, taking a break, like a 1 minute break, and I saw these guys. There were two guys who were just standing there, and every once in a while they would randomly approach a person and talk to them for a little bit, for as long as the person would want to talk to them, I
Yeah.
guess. I've noticed after a brief amount of time, that they were only talking to women. So my initial thought was, oh, okay, they're just trying to pick up women or to get phone numbers or whatever, you know.
Sure.
Which already put me in a state of, oh, okay, let me see, let me just take a look at this, you know. Let me just appreciate
Some people watching.
the arts or lack thereof of these guys. And a friend of mine was texting me at around the same time, and I decided to meet up with him down there just for 10 minutes because he wanted to talk to me. So I decided to just, hey, let's meet at Gameltoll. There's these guys, and I just want to kind of watch them. So once I was closer, it was easy to notice that they were using a trick, I guess. Or at least one of them was. He was just pointing at the ground, saying like, "Oh, you dropped something. You dropped something." And the woman was like, "Oh no, what did I drop?" It's like, "Oh, you dropped your smile. Hi, I'm whatever." Or I couldn't hear the words, but I could hear that they were pointing.
God, that's
that
so cheesy.
That the women were like,
your
"What?
smile.
I dropped what?" And they were like, "Oh, you dropped your smile." Like, oh, and then some of them laughed, others didn't. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
But then they started talking to them. Anyway, with such a line like that, I was like, okay, yeah, they're probably just trying to
pick up women.
To pick up women. And I was just like, okay, let me watch this. Anyway, I've started noticing after a while with the ones that stood with them for a bit longer, you know, they didn't just leave quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They had an iPad with them, and they eventually they pointed to the iPad, and I'm just pointing and
give me some money. Put your credit card.
Yeah,
right
that's
in
the
here.
thing. That's when it changed to holy shit. Maybe
Yeah.
they're not actually trying to pick up women. They're just trying to sell something that's probably only for women.
What a waste of time. I mean, you know, you feel somewhat compelled to try to like be friendly enough. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like a super grouch. But when I'm you giggle all you want. But when I'm walking, I'm not just like casually strolling around that street looking for interaction and things to do. I'm walking from work to the train station or from the train station to work, you know, when I'm in there. So that's why it's annoying to me when people is like always trying to fucking get you to pay something. Anyways, if I gave money to every one of those people that asked me, I'd be broke.
You know, it would actually be an interesting experiment, don't you think?
What do you mean?
Like if you carry like a hidden camera, it's not because it needs to be hidden. It's just so you're not walking around all day with someone behind you filming you.
Just take a compilation of how many times you get asked on a normal week.
Yeah,
for money.
you just like if you have a hidden camera, you turn it on whenever you go on the street around there. And every time somebody asks you for money or for your time and attention,
Just
you
create
give
a
it to
clip of
them.
that.
You give it to them, so you just stand there for maybe you have a limit, like okay, I'll be here for 5 minutes.
See how much
And
time you can waste.
How much time you waste, and you always give them money, even if it's 20 krona max. It doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
But you always give them money, and then at the end of the month, you
See how much time and money you wasted.
Well, wasted might be a bit of a strong word for it, but
You could also create a separate organization that goes around and you have a few guys that sit on a street and you only wait for other people that are bothering other people. And you're like, excuse me, sir, do you have a moment to talk about our organization who helps organizations like your organization beg people for money?
So
like you do the same thing
you
to the
target
guys.
the people who are targeting people.
Fucking bastards.
Huh.
Anyways,
I'm not sure that would go anywhere for it, but I'm interested in.
Well, you know what's going to have a big effect on the quality of walking around?
What is that for it?
It's going to be the weather. Well,
that fucking weather.
Snow predicted next week as the worst winter for 5 years threatens Denmark. How do you feel about that?
I feel that I've been here for 9 or 10 years for it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through worst winter for 5 years.
Yeah, so you already
I've been
went
through worst. Yeah,
one of them.
I'm here. I survived. I don't give a shit. Bring it on.
So snow towards the end of week 46. That's this upcoming week, isn't it? I don't know the whole week system. Like week 46. It's a Danish thing.
It's a Danish thing,
yeah,
isn't
absolutely,
it?
Absolutely.
I've also I never seen
I never think of
weeks
it as a
numbered like
number of
this
weeks.
until I came to Denmark.
Yeah. Oh, do you have some time available? No, on week 31 I'm doing. It's like,
When the fuck is
who
week
thinks about it
31?
like
Yeah,
that?
I don't know.
Jesus Christ, man. Um, although to be fair, I guess you can kind of divide by, like, you can take the week number and divide by 4 and at least get the approximate month that you're in this the section of the month. But then in that case, why not just say the month and like
Come on.
the third week of January or whatever?
Yeah, that would be, for me, that would be the best. Like the first week of November, or
Mhm.
the second or the third, or whenever it is the week that we're on.
Yeah, towards the end of week 46, a low pressure system will probably pass over the country from the northwest. At the tail end, we may get some sleet or snow showers. And then weeks 47 and 48, the fortnight beginning on November 20th. Who the hell uses fortnights
That's
anymore?
exactly what I was thinking
I mean,
as
it's,
well.
it's so funny. Everybody jokes about how the U.S. still uses the imperial system. And then we use these strange concepts like fortnight and week numbering.
You know, I think the use, I could be wrong here, like always.
Fortnight is a British thing, right?
I don't know if it's a British thing or if it's one of those things that it's the let's say it's the most accurate word for this to express what you mean. So in this case, the fortnight. And people who learn English as a second language,
Mhm.
they end up learning
That.
to use words like that. Kind of like, I feel that I see second second language English speakers using like, oh, I shall do this a lot more than Americans or even Brits, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it this way. Here's the original sentence. Weeks 47 and 48, the fortnight beginning on November 20th, we'll see a steady flow of cold air from the northeast and the east, expected to provide snow, which could be, quote, especially strong on the eastern coasts. Sounds like we're on the eastern coast in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Not feeling good. But you could reword that to just say, instead of week 47 and 48, the fortnight beginning on November 20th, you could just say the 2-week period beginning November 20th. Or for the 2 weeks after November 20th. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that sounds way more natural. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
if you're comparing simply a 2-week period, 2-week period versus fortnight, yes, fortnight is less words. It is probably more efficient. But
Maybe it's also because it's written. Could it be like people wouldn't speak like this?
I wouldn't. I would never. I don't
Yeah,
think
but you wouldn't write it
I've never
either.
used the word fortnight legitimately. I think in any fluent speech or normal conversation, I would just say 2-week period. But then again, fortnight, we don't really use it in the U.S. at all. So I mean, maybe it's one of those things. It's just a holdover from British English, and yeah, whatever.
So it's gonna be coldest for
Yeah.
5 years.
Apparently, Sweden is also going to have the coldest winter for 5 years, and let's see.
So 5 years. Sorry, go on.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, a Swedish weatherman told this guy that the winter will be comparable to the one in Sweden as it will be in Denmark. And then DMI, which is the Danish Meteorological Institute, I guess, or whatever, they contend that since we're not Sweden, but we are influenced by the Atlantic more, but we'll probably get very similar weather.
So 2012, 13. That's the last.
It says it was chilly, but it was nothing compared to the winters of 2009, 2010, and 2010-11.
Dude, I remember those.
The coldest so far
yeah.
this century, during which the snow stayed on the ground for over a month each time. Holy shit, man! I'm not really looking.
I think
forward to that.
2009, 10. I think I remember that one pretty well, and it wasn't good.
So better bundle up this winter.
But you know what? I'm happy that, of course, I'm happy that the worst times were when I had just moved here, because I feel that I could endure it a lot better back then than now, you know?
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, whenever people complained about the weather, I was always just like, yeah, fuck it, you know, just put more clothes and whatever. And now I've been here for long enough that I start noticing that I'm complaining about the weather a lot more, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, if something like that came on now, I'd be like, oh, fuck, maybe I should move somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got here, we hadn't. Well, I mean, we came here from Texas, which is obviously a pretty warm climate comparatively. And so, like, for us, it was a bit of a wonder thing that, oh, wow, like, there's a real winter, there's snow, we're experiencing, like, cold weather for the first time. So yeah, we were able to maybe deal with it a little bit better, or at least it didn't seem to take like a psychological toll. Whereas now, like around, I don't know, October, September, stuff like that, that it's starting to get cold and that you're going to be in for at least like 4 months of 3, 4 months of like miserable weather. And, I mean, I think it has an effect on you. Like you want to do less stuff, you go out less. In the summer, man, you want to spend all your time out in the city and doing things.
Yeah, just to pile up on outside
Yeah.
experiences while you can, at
Yeah,
least.
absolutely.
I think the anticipation is a big part of making it bad as well, though, because when you just move here, I mean, yeah, you hear that it's cold,
But you don't know what to
but you don't know
expect.
it what to expect.
No.
And after you've been here for a while, as soon as you start seeing the temperature drop like below 10 degrees,
Yeah.
you know what's coming. It's like, yeah, winter is coming, you
It
know? You know what's
I
coming.
think the first day that because like when it starts getting cold, there's a period where like, like a puffy jacket or just a regular jacket will do. The first day that you forgot your gloves and it's cold enough to need gloves, like you're walking outside and you're like, holy fuck, my hands are cold, trying to breathe into them, stuff them down in your pockets and shit, especially if you bike. I mean, dude,
You need gloves if you
yeah,
bike.
when you need the gloves that first day that you don't have them, you're like, okay, winter's here. At least I am. So there you go. Cold winter.
So you're already using gloves. I haven't used gloves this year yet.
I am bringing them with me every day, and there has been, I think, 3 or 4 times, especially when it was maybe like 8, 9 degrees and windy. Yeah, that I'm starting to put the gloves on if I'm walking outside for more than 10, 15 minutes. I don't put them on like every time, but if I'm going to walk 20, 30 minutes and
Hmm.
especially if it's windy, I'm putting the gloves on.
I haven't started using gloves yet. I've started using scarves though.
Okay. I haven't started using scarves yet. So
Oh, so you feel that it's more important to protect your hands than your throat,
absolutely, because
extremities.
the extremities lose heat faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like your neck. I mean, you have the highest percentage of blood probably going through your whole body in that region. Or
Hmm.
so like that area. Even though it's uncomfortable when you get cold wind whipping on your neck, it's not like you're gonna. That shit doesn't feel good. But anyways, it's not a big deal. And also, I mean, I have a pretty big like proper winter jacket that
Oh.
can zip up pretty high and kind of protects my neck a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's also the problem. I've bulked up a little bit in the past year, so I can't close my jackets anymore.
Yeah,
So I, at least my hands, I can put them in my pockets, but my jackets need to stay open because, well,
the
because
chest is poking out.
it's not just the chest. Anyway, I need something else to kind of warm up that central region, upper central region.
Yeah. Well, speaking of warming up, you could stay inside with some candle stuff.
Oh, that was a nice transition for it.
I've been known for my good transitions.
Have you?
Historic, not really.
I,
Uh,
I think they would also be a lot better if we didn't, and by
Call it
we,
out every
yeah,
time
every
and joke
single
about it.
fucking time.
Yeah, because like it could flow a little more naturally if you didn't just call it out. Oh, very nice transition
I
to the
know
next
for it.
story.
I
Or
think I think it will stop with time.
why you got to cock block me, bro?
It will stop with time. I'm sorry for it. Go
Ah,
on with your Hugo Hazard.
Huga Hazard, cozy candlelight, a bane to indoor climate. Um, So pretty much this article talks about um I don't know if you knew this or not, but candles actually produce like a tremendous amount of ultrafine particles that can be dangerous depending on the composition of them. But I mean, burning things emit things that you probably shouldn't inhale in general,
Mhm.
like a campfire or whatever. You don't want to be breathing smoke. But I guess a lot of people don't really think about candles because they don't produce a lot of visible actual smoke. Um, but yeah, this article just talks about how it can be quite dangerous in the home if you're like having a lot of candles lit, especially ones that aren't like really clean burning, and you don't air out the apartment or the house kind of on a regular basis. You can have a lot of these indoor air pollution problems.
With the airing out the apartment thing,
Yeah,
I've also heard recently. I don't know if it was from you or from whoever that with like if you live in a city, like or at least close to a road where there's cars starting and stopping and braking and all that,
yeah,
there is a higher concentration of microparticles as well in the air, because every time you brake, you're like,
Creates metal
yeah, you're
shavings.
wearing out the tires and the bit of the ground,
Yeah.
and that shit is in the air as well, and it's actually measurable in people who live in cities. So if you're even if you're airing out your home to get rid of this shit, then you're getting other shit in there.
Yeah, and when you talk about diesel and stuff too, it produces a lot of microfine particles or
Hmm.
like micron, I think 1 or 2 micron. They have a whole set of studies. It was actually there was one released maybe a couple of weeks ago about the worst air quality in Europe, including Turkey, and then ones without Turkey because like Turkey is really bad apparently.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean all these little microfine particles, even if it's perhaps like a somewhat inert substance itself, you don't really want to breathe in little particles of things, you know, or and like overwork your lungs having to filter that stuff out at the cilia level. But then if it is metals, like if it's heavy metals, like the stuff that they put in, let's say brake pads or whatever, there's got to be metals in there that basically get put in the air and I think contribute to cancer and stuff like that. And same with diesel exhaust. It was impressive to me that the U.S. On those same levels of like micron particles had way better results, but I think it's primarily due to the fact that we burn gasoline, like we're gasoline driving versus diesel driving. Diesel is way dirtier in terms of those particles, from what I understand.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, you can't win, and you can't really win if you're inside the city, because most, I think, a lot of studies have shown that the air inside your house is often more contaminated than the air outside. At least if you're in a relatively clean outdoor area.
Why? Because there's less ventilation, or
Yeah,
what?
because you build up, especially in homes that have like central air conditioning and stuff, but you just build up all this dust and like candle soot and different
Hmm.
off gassing, a lot of cleaning products,
Yeah.
like all the fragrances that they put in cleaning products and stuff like that. It all gets in the air as well. And you just have all these particles of stuff floating around.
I'm actually quite surprised when if I leave a guitar hanging for like a week and I don't pick it up,
Yeah,
the amount of dust that you can see on it,
is
it's
pretty significant.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Because I'm like, I'm breathing all that shit.
it's your own dead skin particles.
Okay, so they're okay.
Yeah.
If it's
Well,
my own.
among other things. I
No,
mean,
it's a lot of shit, you know? I
yeah.
also noticed that I always leave the window open to breathe out, like my bedroom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, actually, I was gonna say something. I'm actually not sure if it's true, but I'll say it anyway.
Go ahead.
I have a feeling that there is more dust, or there's more. Yeah, if I when I leave the windows open and when I don't. Of course, it's not just a 1 day thing. It's accumulated.
Right.
But I feel that stuff that I leave in my living room, where I don't necessarily leave the windows open as much as in my bedroom, that they accumulate dust
At a lower rate.
slower. Yeah, I don't know if it's true. But about the heavy metals, when you're talking about it, I wonder if this is actually contributing to like this the breathing of all this stuff from the candles and from the cars and from just the outside and the urban civilization, the debris that we
Hmm.
breathe in, if it's making us, if it's having an influence on our mood or behavior, or kind of like how we figured out that lead, like back in the 70s or whenever it was, 60s,
Causes more
80s.
violent crime and stuff.
Yes, that as soon as they reduced the amount of lead in gasoline, right?
Mhm.
That violent crime just drastically was reduced. It could have been coincidence, but I don't think
Yeah.
it felt very
Related,
related.
correlated, yeah.
And it makes sense if lead is so poisonous to us, which we've already figured out that it is.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it could be. It's hard to say. I mean, it definitely I think it has, a big impact on, like, asthma and people having, like, breathing problems. You know, also people have, sleep apnea where they have a lot of trouble breathing while they're sleeping, and so they have to wear machines or they just don't get a very restful sleep. I mean, that kinda stuff if you can't breathe very well, man, that affects your quality of life for sure. It puts you in a bad mood.
S-
So,
So let me just give you a little thought that I just had for.
go ahead.
Let's assume that these things actually have an influence in our mood and behavior.
Mhm.
So that would mean that people who don't live in the cities, people who live out in Jutland, you know, like just outside from the cities and where there's less of all these particles, that they would have a different behavior, right? or that they wouldn't be affected. Their mood and behavior wouldn't be affected by these.
Perhaps. I mean, think about it this way: you'd still have a lot of also ultrafine particles and stuff in country areas and more rural areas too, right? Because
But
you're
it's nature.
is it? I mean, you're burning more wood probably, like for heating and stuff like that. So you're
Mhm.
creating smoke from there. Often, like industrial and farming and mining activities is done in areas that aren't really cities. So I don't think it's a blanket statement that you can say just because you live somewhere that's not a city that your air quality is going to be better. It will perhaps have a different concentration or different makeup, like diesel and car brake dust versus, yeah, wood burning and farm equipment running and all that. I don't know. Are you trying to explain why Eulanders are the way they are?
Fine. Yeah, I'll drop my joke. Fuck it. I had a good joke, but you kind of derailed it with your objective look at my.
I mean, I had a good transition, and you kind of derailed it with your
I'm sorry for it.
your
It's
you're calling it out. You know?
anyway about the candle lights.
Are you going to start burning? It says actually here. There's one thing to take away from this. I guess whether or not a light source has a high content of soot has a big impact on how many particles the light emits. So I guess the brighter the candle, probably the more soot there is. And then they said typically the larger candles emit more particles than their smaller counterparts. Okay. Another tip for reducing the number of particles emitted by candles is keeping the candle wick short and keeping it away from drafts. And the swan marked candles are the best candles to have, is what it says.
Aha. So
Do you know anything about the swan marked candles?
no, I never noticed that there were swan marked candles.
Look for the swan marked candles next time
Do
you go.
you think this could be a paid article by the swan marked candle lobby into making us believe that we should buy their candles?
Well, this is the Milieustyrelsen that's talking about that. So I guess that's like the environmental stuur is like to control or shape, right?
Yeah.
Direct something. So that's like the environmental control. I
So,
don't know,
so you don't
foundation
think
or
they
something?
can be bribed?
Oh, I'm not saying that, but I mean, they're
Like
saying
here's they give you like 100, like a 2-year supply of fläskesteg sandwiches, and
Jesus Christ.
fine.
Maybe. I don't know. They're an
Any-
environmental agency.
Look for the fucking swan. I didn't know that.
Look for the swan.
I am gonna look for the swan.
Not just
and
the cheapest, Dolph. Look for the swan.
I from now on I will look for the swan, and if the price difference is not too high, I will probably buy those instead.
Do you trim your candle wicks and keep them nice and short?
No.
You should definitely do that.
Really?
Yeah, it makes them burn more evenly and better in general. But
When do you trim them?
you trim them when they get too long. Like I try to keep most candles trimmed the wick to like maybe a little more than half a centimeter, not much. Because the longer the wick, the further away it gets from the wax. That's when you start to have that sooty burning. Have you ever noticed a candle that'll kind of be fluttering and
Yeah,
like every now and
dark.
then giving some blacker
Yes,
smoke off?
yes.
Yeah, that's because you don't trim the candle wick. So just like after it's done, the next time you're going to go light the candle, take a look at the wick and just take some scissors and just trim the wick so that it's like, you know, a centimeter max, maybe a little less. It depends on also the type of candle and all that, but you want it to be pretty low to the wax.
Okay, I didn't know, but that's only valid if
That-
you relight a candle, right?
Uh,
Or if you light it for the first time as well, or what?
Anytime you light it, I mean, you can wait. Sometimes,
like-
like when they first come, usually the wick is at a reasonable length,
Mm-hmm.
and then you let it. You know, the first time you burn a candle, especially if it's one of those bigger ones, you want to let it burn at least for a couple hours so the wax gets fully melted,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have tunneling where like you only burn and melt a portion of the wax, and then you put it out, and so it's like you start to have this problem where the candle tunnels and it doesn't burn.
Yeah,
evenly,
like
and if you-
you have the walls on the left, or
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So the first time you burn it, you want to give it a good burn in, like 2-3 hours, depending on size and how well the wax, and also the wax quality makes a big difference too. But yeah, I mean, then after that's done, usually what's going to happen is the wick is a little bit too long when you put it out. So before you light it the next time, you just trim the wick a little bit.
wow, I never noticed that.
Yeah, my mom was always a big candle person, and she was like very particular about, you know, I don't know, trimming the wicks in the right way and letting them burn the right way and all that. Yeah, I mean, some candle, like I really like having candles. It's very
It's awesome. I love
calming.
candles.
They're nice. It adds a good like environment. And some of those candles you can get are pretty damn expensive. Like the nice ones that burn for a really long period of time and burn really evenly and have a nice scent. So you don't want to like waste it by not burning it properly.
Mm-hmm.
You get more life out of it. There you go, Dolph. Trim your candle wicks and you will have less soot. And look for that swan.
Yeah,
I'm curious what
I
brand it
learned.
is, the swan one.
Do you think it's only one brand, or do you think
Or maybe it's like
kind
a
of like
marking they have to
yeah,
say
like
like it's a
those
more safe one or something.
yeah, recommended by the
Recommended by for
the
people who
animal
have kids or
protection
something.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
swan?
Look for the swan, Dolph.
Everybody should look for the swan. At
Hmm.
least now you know.
That's right.
Talking about swans.
Uh-huh.
No,
Is that your
it's not.
transition?
Yeah, I was gonna say this guy looks a bit like a swan, but it doesn't.
Does he? I don't
No, it
know.
doesn't. That's why I kind of dropped the.
Dansk Folkeparti wants to make it tougher for foreigners to run for local office. Right-wing party proposes Danish language test as one prerequisite.
Okay.
You know, they use this Danish language test for a lot of things to try to prevent foreigners from doing stuff.
You know what? For I don't know the rest of the article, but I have to say, if you're gonna run for local office, I do believe you should know the fucking language. I mean, I can't really blame them too much on this, at least so far.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Although I will point out that I haven't even taken, for instance, I don't know what level of Danish they want you to pass to do this. If
Mhm.
it should be Pro Dansk To or Pro Dansk Tre. But I would argue that basically I'm on module 4 now. It's pretty close to the time where I can take Pro Dansk To, which is the slightly more basic one. That's the only one you're required to have if you're already EU to get permanent residence, I think, or apply for citizenship. Whereas if you're not EU, you need to get Pro Dansk Tre, which is more advanced, and that's the one I have to get. But I mean, I can tell you, I can already now, like when people are talking, I'm starting to get to the point where I'm understanding 70, 80, 85% of what's going on, especially given that I will probably know some context as well.
Mhm.
And the only thing I really feel like I need to do at this point is build out my vocabulary a lot. Like there's a lot of words I don't know the specific word for a certain type of thing, or like somebody will say a word and it's like a slightly more uncommon one, and I don't know what it is. And so I just have to ask, hey, what's that one mean? Or look it up. But basically, I guess I could argue that I could probably get by in my daily life completely with Danish if I wanted to, if I forced myself to now. And I haven't even taken Pro Dansk To. I'm not even to that point.
Mhm.
So I can fully function, I think, in society for the most part at my current level.
You can function, but you're gonna have still trouble with a lot of things.
Perhaps, but
Maybe
I mean,
not most things, but
some things, yes. But I could also then clarify that I'm not fully understanding. Can you repeat it to me, or
Mhm.
can you explain to me what this one word like? I can understand your entire sentence. I don't know what this one word you said
Mhm.
means. Like, can you explain that to me in some other way,
Mhm.
even if it was just explaining it to me in Danish? And I feel like I could get by. But you're right. I mean, obviously, am I 100% fluent? No.
Oh no, I'm not trying to bring you down either.
No.
Don't take it that way.
Well, what I'm getting at is it, depending on which language test they want you to pass, I think it's either more or less practical. But we haven't even read the article, though, so maybe we should.
I know, but the headline. I mean, the headline.
Alright.
It's
Yeah, but should we read the article too? A few parts of it.
Fine.
Or you had something on your mind you wanted to hit me with first?
No.
Hit me with
No,
it.
not hit you for it. Come on, we're all friends here.
All right. Anyways, when the local elections in Denmark just around the corner, there seems to be more exotic names than ever on many of the election posters. I'm not going to read all these names, but there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of non-Danish names.
Dude, there's a name from who is it? I know you want to read the article.
No, it's fine. I don't know.
There's a guy, I think he's from Liberal Alliance, or Liberal Alliance, that he has his phonetic
Like
pronunciation
Yeah.
underneath, you
Yeah, I
know,
think I've
because
seen
it's
that
such
It's like a weird name.
unusual Danish name, you know, and yeah, I don't know what I don't think I have a point with this. It's just you're talking about
The names.
the names, and yeah, some of them I've started to put the pronunciation there just to make sure that people know how to pronounce it.
Yeah. So they say, in fact, you don't need to be a Danish citizen to run for local office, and not everyone is pleased with that. Right-wing party Dansk Folkeparti contends that only Danish citizens should be able to run for office in Denmark. But since the view gets little support in parliament, they've proposed that in order to run for office, you must have passed a Danish language test. The minimum requirement should be that the candidates can understand and speak Danish in order to take part in Danish democracy. So the proposal includes the passing of a Danish test. Um, and then other people are saying that there's no change needed because the only rule for being able to run in a local election is that the prospective candidate must have been in Denmark for at least 3 consecutive years. And that's basically 350,000 foreigners living in Denmark that can vote and run in local elections. Um, I don't know. I mean, if you've been here 3 consecutive years, if you haven't learned a single lick of Danish at that point, I also have a feeling that you're probably not going to be running for local office.
Yeah.
Like if you don't care enough about the country to at least try to learn the language a little bit, why the hell do you care about enough about the country to run for a local election? So and if you really don't know the language at all, do you think how many of these people do you think know zero Danish and couldn't pass a test and are still running for local election?
I don't know.
Okay, I would
Depends on the
I,
test, like you said in the beginning.
my
Depends
guess
on,
my guess would be that none of these people running for office don't know any Danish.
yeah.
I bet all of them know some Danish. Maybe they could all pass Pro Dansk toe or be very close. That's my just guess completely. Because I mean, how are you? Yeah, why would you run for local office and you don't even know the language of the country you're in?
Yeah, I think the caring aspect that you mentioned is basically the key there. It's like, why would you care about the country enough to want to run for local office, but not care enough to learn the language?
Exactly.
It doesn't make much sense to
So
me.
I think this is really not. This is kind of a non-issue and
It's a
really not
non-issue.
necessary.
There you go, Ford. So can we say that we agree with the F in this case, or what?
No, I would say that I don't because I don't feel like you need to pass the test to actually do it. I feel like yeah, you should probably have some understanding of the language, but I don't feel like you need to pass a test. I feel like the system is already working as it intended. If there's a bunch of these
Hmm.
people running for office that don't know Danish at all, okay, then maybe we should have a talk. And if those people are winning, but if the people are running don't know Danish and they never win, and who even knows how many people don't know Danish that run? Like, I'd like to see some numbers about why they think it's necessary to introduce new legislation, new requirements, more things requiring Danish language test, because they've made it harder and harder and harder in the time that I've been here to do anything if you're a foreigner. And all of it has surrounded the Danish language test. And I will argue that my girlfriend is going to be taking Pro Dansk Tray, which is like the more advanced one that's required for people who aren't EU. She's taking it this upcoming week, and I've helped her a little bit with some of the materials and looked at it. And we've even had like one of our friends, a Danish guy, helping us as well and going over some of the tests and the test taking strategies with her. And they try to trick you quite a bit. Like there's a lot of stuff in there that is seems to be intentionally very tricky. Like that even like a Dane could potentially miss as well. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
not a super trivial test. So I feel like they use it a bit as a weapon or like as a bit of a gatekeeping tool to try to keep people from participating or out of their society or as a bit of an outcast or whatever you want to say. Do I think that people should learn the language? Absolutely. Do I think it's a very useful language to learn? Not really, only if you live here. But I mean, still,
Well,
if you live here, you should probably learn it. But like I said, this seems to be like Dansk Folkeparti, like they're every time I look at whatever they're doing, it seems to always just be a veiled attempt at preventing people and disenfranchising people. It's like the right wing party in the US where they all have all this gerrymandering, where they cut up the district in a certain way so that they can get Republicans voted in, even though if you just took a raw popular vote, they couldn't. So I'm really like against these kind of backhanded ways of going about like pushing your right wing agenda. You know what I mean? Like putting up artificial barriers to things. Because again, is this really a problem? Out of everybody that has a non Danish sounding name on all these posters, how many of these people running right now don't speak Danish? I would argue probably none of them, or a couple of percent of them. Out of the ones, if there are even ones that don't speak any Danish at all that are running, how many of those do you think are going to win? I'm going to argue that if they don't speak Danish and they're running for Danish politics, they're 0% of them are going to win. So what the fuck is the point of this? It's just to make noise and be like, oh look, for all you, right wing supporters that hate foreigners too, like we're doing something about this. Like look at us doing something. When in reality, this probably has zero ultimate effect on the outcome of local politics in Denmark. And so it's a nothing. It's a nothing issue. It's just like, waving your hands in the air to make some noise and just fucking show out, or just try to make something out of a nothing deal. So I hate shit like this.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean for it. I can't disagree with you. You know, I think that's a good point. It's a point I hadn't really thought. I mean, I just reacted to the fucking headline. You know, it's not like I had put much thought into this to begin with. But yeah, I do think you have a point, and I do think I agree with most of that. Having said that, I still also do agree that if you're, I believe that if you're gonna want to run for office,
Yeah.
you should know the language. But
Sure.
but
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 should
but
you
like
be
you said,
required
no,
to?
yeah, I do agree that it might be a non-issue, and it might just be DF trying to push for harder and stricter rules just because they can, or
Yeah.
trying,
Because
and that's that's silly.
Because what if it's a guy that came here when let's say let's give an example. It's just something completely contrived, right? I'll just make something up, and who knows if it's true or not. But say some family comes here as refugees, and they have like maybe a 16-year-old son that they bring over when they're here, and the kid doesn't know any Danish, knows some English or whatever, and basically picks up a little bit of Danish as he lives here, and he lives here for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and now he's like in his 20s, his early 20s, right? He probably, I could very well see that maybe he didn't, who knows whether he took like official Danish classes in school to try to get him up to speed and so on. Probably he did. But let's imagine a scenario where basically he's able to be functional in Danish and totally understood on the street and totally understood in his daily life and understand people. But maybe his grammar or like his writing is not very good, right? Enough to where you could understand him, he could understand you, you can interact, but he couldn't pass a Danish test, right?
Well,
So somebody
sure,
like that,
I'll take that.
you know what I mean? Because now that I've been learning Danish a while, I notice a lot of foreigners that actually speak pretty well. Like I can understand what they're saying and I can communicate with them, but there are, a lot of incorrect things in the grammar. And I'm guilty of that too. There's probably a lot of things I do that are incorrect.
Dude, I've heard Danes do things like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Like the small words like till and po and all these little things. Like there's a lot of scenarios where like you're supposed to use one in one area, but not in the other. And even Danes get it wrong, So all I'm getting at is I might be wrong. Hey, maybe all these foreigners that are running don't know any Danish at all. And maybe every single one of these foreigners is going to win their election. But I really doubt it. So in the absence of other information, I agree. You should know Danish if you're going to run for local politics. Should you be required to? Not unless it's an actual problem. It's a waste of money and time.
Yeah, it's just adding an extra law or rules or things like that when they don't really matter.
Like if you look at everything that's going on in the society and like with gangs and all this talk about, what are they going to do with all this gang problem and probably there's got to be discussions at some point on like, I know we always talk about this, but a lot of the gang stuff is all about money and all that shit is all about the illicit drug trade, and legalization of marijuana could really have a huge impact to take, once you can take the money out from under something, you can pretty much kill it. If you hit them in the pocketbook, it's going to kill it. So like, what's more important, that we focus our resources on making sure that like a 0.5% of people that don't know Danish that might accidentally get elected, you know what I mean? Or like
Accident.
actually look at serious crime.
Yes,
Or other problems in society that are more meaningful and impactful. I just think this is such a small thing that probably doesn't even make any difference.
It is.
That it's just a waste of time.
I agree. I mean, you're getting into a bit dangerous territory
Sure.
in terms of arguing with me, because just because something is more important than other doesn't mean the other shouldn't be handled or fixed or taken care of.
Oh, yeah.
But no. But I completely I changed my mind after reading the headline until after hearing your beautiful, wonderful,
maybe I should
eloquent
run for
rant,
politics.
if I might say so.
Should I run for a local election next year?
Oh boy.
I'm just kidding. All right.
You need to pass the test first for it.
Well, not yet, but I will pass the test anyway. So there you go.
Okay. So,
well, there's one more thing. We've long agreed
what is
with
it?
our EU neighbors that all EU citizens have a right to vote at local and EU Parliament elections when they have the residence and have been in another EU nation for 3 years. Danes do the same in other European countries. They vote when they've been there some years, and so do foreigners who work and live in Denmark. That's how you engage with your local democracy.
Can you vote this year then?
I guess I could
It's the
technically.
first year,
Yeah,
or
maybe I should. I don't know. I haven't even looked into it. Look at me. I'm not participating in Danish society, Dolph.
no? I think you're waiting to get the exam first.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'll be able to better vote once I have a
Once you can
paper.
actually understand what they're
But
saying.
I can't understand a lot of what they're saying. Like that's the thing is like, do I need a piece of paper saying I can understand it, or you don't have the piece of paper? You took the classes, you understand Danish fully. You've never taken the test.
I never taken the final test.
So
no.
look at you. You shouldn't be able to run for local politics, and you shouldn't be able to vote either. Because it's
You
a
know-
slippery slope. If you're not able to run for local politics, if you want to say that you can't run for local politics because you don't speak the language, then you could also say that you shouldn't be able to vote in local politics because you don't speak the language. And since you haven't taken the test, I don't think you should be able to vote. Like that's where I think this whole thing with DF is
Yeah.
going. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things
Yeah,
where they
yeah, yeah.
introduce it slowly, and then they're going to say, okay, now we've already made it so you can't run for local politics unless you have passed the test.
Mhm.
So now we're going to make it so you can't vote unless you've passed the test. And that's the kind of thing that I would completely not put past DF. I would argue that that's probably their strategy long term and what they're trying to do. And anytime you call them on it, oh, no, that's not what we're doing. Dude, come on.
Okay, Ford.
Anyway,
This is your subject.
enough about.
you get.
Let's transition.
Let's transition
into another politician,
Oof.
Dolph. One that has been known. Well,
Or known or suspected. It says possible.
oh no. It's not even possible. Anyways, we'll
go on.
well,
Go
there
on.
was two things I was going to talk about, but let's start with
the serious.
just
one.
the facts, man.
Yeah. Man.
Venstre politicians slammed over possible conflict of interest.
Ooh.
Caroline, this I mean,
I don't know. I don't know how to
is it
pronounce
like
her fucking name.
I
don't know.
Because
I don't
it's
know.
spelled like the English stage. So like Caroline Stage Olsen. But I have to imagine it's more like Carolina Stay Olsen.
Yeah, Caroline Olsen.
Yeah.
Just forget the stage part of it.
She is running for a health spokesperson position, and she's also a paid lobbyist for the tobacco industry.
Ooh.
That's the
There could be a conflict of interest there, Ford.
Yeah, the local politician who's a spokesperson on health matters for Venstre in Copenhagen has been criticized for wearing too many hats at once. On her LinkedIn page, she's also listed as a, quote, government affairs manager for British American Tobacco. So basically like a lobbyist, right? Or a...
Okay, so she, let's just try to break this into, for dumb people like me,
Mhm.
she has connections to British American Tobacco.
She doesn't
That's
just
a
have
fact.
connections. She works there. And her job is to help the company interface with governments.
All right.
And you're a tobacco company. And what
now she wants to run for government,
for health. No, not just for government. For health spokesperson. She's the health spokesperson of Venstre, and she wants to run for some health-related position for Copenhagen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here for a little bit because I do enjoy it actually. Yeah. One could argue that someone who is involved in the tobacco industry, in this case, or is someone who is involved in health-related subjects. So that person has experience with health-related subjects and therefore could potentially be educated enough to run some kind of health-related position in the government. So that's just a simple, well, I don't know if it's simple, but it's just a statement.
Yeah.
Do I really believe that that's a good idea? I have to say no. And I do, and yeah, I think there's just a much bigger chance that that person just going to try to push certain interests, either because there's value, there's value for that person personally, or because that person actually. No, it's not. Nobody can believe that
cigarettes are good for your health.
No, that's terrible. That's fucking terrible.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you look at the position she works at for British American Tobacco, government affairs manager, right? So her job is literally I mean, of course, I'm just
Yeah.
speculating here, but I mean, what kind of things does the tobacco industry have to worry about with government? Well, probably regulation, probably things like banning smoking in public places, banning smoking being promoted to minors, banning cigarettes being for sale, being forced to put all those fucked up images that show people dying from all those fucked up things that cigarettes do to you, holes in your throat, necrosis of the feet. That's one of the worst ones. That picture right there with the feet rotting away, dude, that shit is like the worst one. So her job is probably to interact with governments and at least try to soften the blow and say, yeah, we know you want to put those pictures on them, but let us still have our branding. Or, yeah, we know you want to try to prevent the sale to minors, but please let it so that cigarettes can still be on display in the store and not just completely behind the counter. Stuff like that. I mean, from my understanding, I've watched that movie or that documentary, whatever it is. Thank You for Smoking. I've watched some other documentaries about the tobacco industry. I've watched like the Modern Marvels documentaries on tobacco. A really good one, by the way, is the Modern Marvels one. But I mean, the tobacco industry for years and years and years basically fought. They knew that it wasn't healthy, and they fought to keep that information out of the public light. I bet the person's title that tried to keep that information from the public was government affairs manager too. Like, I don't think they have anything good to offer society that they're going to, like that they're there to do at the risk of their own company. So it's a huge conflict of interest. I think it's ridiculous. I think if she wanted to be in another position in government that wasn't involved in health, then maybe it would be less ridiculous and you'd just say, okay, whatever. But that's a huge conflict. And it actually says right here, she actually, I think, wants to be one of those things that she would be dealing with or does deal with is the initiatives Copenhagen intends to take regarding campaigns to stop people smoking or starting to smoke. And she's opposed the use of municipal funding for nicotine patches. So like she's obviously, you know what I mean? Like if you're on board with people quitting smoking, but you work for a company that makes cigarettes and you're against people using municipal funds for nicotine patches to help people quit smoking. I mean, doesn't that seem pretty obvious what's going on here? The administration.
Am I still playing devil's advocate?
I don't know. The
not?
administration ruled there was a conflict of interest, and since December, she's been excluded from discussions on tobacco-related matters. So
It's fair.
I guess she's already elected, and she's getting reelected or something.
Well, she's running for Venstre, so Venstre is in power now.
Yeah.
So maybe she's actually already running.
Because if she's
stuff.
already excluded from discussions on tobacco related stuff since December, I mean, assume she's already been at least involved in some way with the government. I don't know if she's been an elected official or just like a spokesperson for Venstre or an expert, subject matter expert or something. But anyways, I mean, this is ridiculous. The second part to this whole discussion is the way she looks.
Oh boy. What are you trying to say for it?
Well, you've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
If Dr. Evil... actually he did. Dr. Evil had that...
Doctoress?
No. You've seen Austin Powers movies, right?
The first one. Yeah.
Okay. You remember Frau?
No.
The German-looking, like, evil sidekick lady?
No.
Okay.
Can you just open up the
Sure.
Google
Yeah.
images?
Dr. Evil Frau, I think, is her name. I think that's her name. Frau Farbissina. Here she is. She's got this kind of evil sidekick look.
Is that a character or is...
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, she's basically like Dr. Evil's female evil sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue... Yeah, I'm just going to pull up a picture here of Carolina. I didn't know anything about her, and I guess we're giving her free publicity. But when I first saw this poster for her, I was like, fuck, man, couldn't they have picked a more flattering picture for her? Her eyebrows make her look so evil in this picture.
She does look like she's a bit in a bad mood. Yeah.
Not even that she's in a bad mood. She just looks like she's permanently like a negative Nancy.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's because all you know of her is this
those
picture.
eyebrows.
Yeah, exactly. But if you look at other pictures of her on the internet,
Yeah, she looks more
might.
normal. She looks a little softer.
Yeah, but there's always. I mean, I have Googled her and I've looked at her, and I mean, she's very beautiful. You know, I'm not trying to say anything about her looks, but there is it, just like some people have what is affectionately known as resting bitch face, and it
Hmm.
affects most of us or a lot of us.
You just permanently look unhappy or like kind of bitchy,
Yeah, like just when you have a neutral face, it just looks like you're kind of in a
annoyed.
don't talk to me mood.
Yeah.
I could see a somewhat similar thing on her face because yeah, she probably could have chosen a more smiling picture, a more hey, I want to help you, and
I want to help you smoke more cigarettes.
I was gonna want to help you with okay, help you what?
Become healthier. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, she does look like she has that syndrome as
RBF.
well. Let's just say resting bitch face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's
but
actually
it's not just bitch. It's
it's
a
actually
different.
funny here because I don't think it's the face itself. Her face shape, it's
It's not the
okay.
shape.
It's somewhat
It's
reminiscent.
the eyebrows.
Somewhat reminiscent of Joffrey from Game of Thrones, but
You said it.
it's her eyebrows. She's got our like resting brow face or something. Her brows. She just needs to go to one of those girls that uses the thread and
Oh
touches
boy.
up the brows and gets them
Oh boy.
looking good. You know, her brow game is too strong right now.
Are you saying there's something wrong with her eyebrows for it?
I'm just saying that they make her look evil. There's nothing wrong if
But it could
evil
be
is
just
the look she's
the
going
placement,
for.
the placement of the eyebrows,
Could
right?
be. I think it's also the downward angle. It's that V shape angle that makes her.
Yeah, but then you just take a different picture, right?
Yeah,
Where
but
you even if you need to force yourself, you just force yourself not to move your eyebrows in that position.
Anyways, she should get some brow game fixed up. She should go to somebody who does the threading and be like, "Hey, give me some softer arches over my eyes, not these like V shape."
Like a McDonald's
Something.
arches kind of thing.
Anything could be better than the way they look right now.
Do you think if she was American or at least more known that there would have been memes about her already?
Absolutely. There's already memes on r/r/Denmark.
There are?
Yeah. So, well, I don't know if a meme, but like one of the first comments, you know, they've been posting a lot in the subreddit because the elections are going on about the different posters. Like the one guy who forgot to put the text in, there's like an area for text and it's like inset text. And so
Really? It says insert text there?
yeah. So on all his posters that are up everywhere, it literally says insert text, like he forgot to paste it.
And they put the fucking posters up anyway.
Yes, and people called him out on it. They posted this on the subreddit, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, that was intentional. Like we wanted to leave it out as like a bit of a, I don't know, a joke or a talking point or
Well,
whatever."
to be fair, we're
you
talking
get-
about it.
Yeah, and so you could. I think he's full of shit, but but it does give you more exposure, right? If people talk about your poster like
Yeah.
that. Same thing with her and her eyebrows. But all I'm getting at is I really think it's just funny. I mean, I don't care what she looks like, but I just think it's funny. When I saw this poster, I was shocked that somebody would pick that picture. Well, just pick that picture. Like we've seen other photos of her that look professional, a softer look, whatever. I mean, maybe she was going for that I'm a real hard ass, like evil
Yeah.
sidekick villain look, but I mean she certainly succeeded on that front. But you know, there's been the other guys that have the foreign names where they they put how to pronounce it on
Mhm.
the poster. So I don't know. I just think it's funny, man. But there has been comments on the /r/Denmark subreddit specifically about her eyebrows.
Of course. I mean, she just looks mean, you know? It's
Yeah.
like usually you see these faces of these people running
Yeah.
and I mean, they're smiling and
Yeah,
they're
it's
like,
just a
"Hey,
normal
vote
person.
for me," you
Who
know?
cares?
And she's almost like looking at you like, "The fuck are you doing down there?"
There's
Huh?
a guy that has a corgi on his poster.
Oh, it's going for
Yeah,
that
he's going for that.
those sympathy points or those
Yeah.
cuteness.
Hey,
Which party is he from?
I don't remember, but I remember seeing, oh, that's a badass picture with that dog in there. It looks real cute. So it worked on some level for me. Whereas I looked at this chick's thing, I was like, I don't know, something's wrong with you. Like you something suspect. And you know what? I was right. Those eyebrows led me directly to the smoking gun of the tobacco link.
Smoking gun. I
Yeah.
see what you did there for. That was nice. But fuck, I need to stop calling this shit out.
Anyways, Unfiltered Copenhagen, bringing you the important news. What matters,
Well,
Carolina?
I do think it's important to know that she has a connection
Absolutely.
to the tobacco industry.
The
And,
eyebrows, maybe not so much.
maybe it's related.
But if nobody's actually talked to her, like, like if somebody has bad breath and you're their friend
Mhm.
and you don't want to tell them about it for fear of being like, you know what I mean? Like, there's some things that you don't want to be like an asshole to
Mhm.
people. But maybe nobody ever told her, hey, those brows aren't really suiting you that well.
I find it hard to believe.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, I find it hard to believe that there's anyone in the party. Like, I mean, I don't know the whole process about
Yeah.
taking picture, choosing picture, printing the picture, putting the pictures up. I don't know
Who's in
this
charge of
who's
saying
in,
that
in
picture
charge
is
of
good
this.
or
If
not?
they have a PR person
Probably.
or whatever. But I find it hard to believe that somebody had an issue with this and didn't say it.
Mhm.
So I have to assume that most people in the party, if not almost everybody, don't have an issue with this. And I mean, I don't have an issue myself. I just
I
think
don't
she
either.
could look a lot more affable. Is that a word? Affable?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, affable.
Yeah.
Like,
Likeable or
yeah, forthcoming and all that.
yeah, just not look like an evil villain.
But maybe
basically.
that's what she's going for this new
nailed it.
feminist. Like,
Fucking
I can do
nailed
whatever
it.
I want because I'm a, or regardless of being a woman or
She
not.
fucking
And
nailed it
hey,
if she's looking for that look.
more power for her. That's fine. Just do. Am I still playing devil's advocate? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
you
think
are.
my roles are a bit
You are.
muddy right now. I don't know what I should be
I
playing.
agree. Whatever. I just thought it was funny.
It is funny.
The first time I saw it, it made my head turn and wonder why the fuck did she choose that picture?
Me too.
And like then I saw something on /r/Denmark, and I'm like, oh, I'm not the only one. Like I'm not just a fucking
Yeah.
complete asshole.
Dude, I remember when we were in Struno, one of our friends, I remember him mentioning, have you seen that picture of that politician female? And I just knew immediately which one. I mean, I've seen dozens of them.
Yeah.
And
You knew the one he was talking about.
He didn't even talk about any eyebrows or evil
Yeah.
face or anything.
You know the picture
I
of that
knew
one
which
female
one.
politician?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
the
knew
one that
which
looks like an
one it
evil
was.
villain. Got him.
It's fucking working. She's a marketing genius.
Yeah, I think so. It could be one of those reverse psychology things where it's like you talk about her so much and give her a lot of airtime. Get out of here, Carolina. We're done with you.
There you go, Carolina.
Nice transition there.
There's no transition yet. I was actually trying to
Come up with something.
Come up with something about Carolina in a submarine.
She could be the evil co-captain of a submarine
Oh.
with those brows.
Yeah, she does look a bit like she could have a villain. And if there's a villain, she's gonna have a submarine.
Well, maybe.
Do you actually think submarine is a?
And then,
It's an evil. Maybe I'm
It's
just
just a
making shit
boat.
up. I know, but if you're gonna have a supervillain in a movie, I mean, he's not gonna drive.
yeah, he needs to have.
He's not gonna drive like a small car or anything, like a Mini or anything like that. He needs to have something to the level of his villainy.
Yeah, like
He's gonna have some big ass mansion. Like, look at James Bond villains, for example.
yeah.
You know?
Well, not just a mansion. They usually have like a secret island hideout where they have like some lair, some evil lair.
Yeah, but they have something that's different from an everyday person, like a submarine. A submarine is a perfect vessel for a villain, I say.
Yep. What a transition, Dolph.
We got lost somewhere in here.
I think we did.
All right.
Anyways, more news on the submarine slaughterer, Peter Madsen. The Danish inventor accused of the murder of Swedish journalist Kim Wall. He's changed his story again, and this is something I could have never predicted because he's only changed his story like 7 times since the beginning.
Say.
A spokesperson from Copenhagen police said in a press release that Madsen has now admitted it was he who dismembered Wall's body and disposed of all the body parts in the sea. So I guess that's the first time he's officially admitted that instead of whatever, all his other 7 stories. In addition, he alleged that she died of carbon monoxide poisoning while he was up on the deck of the submarine.
I am shocked for.
Previously, he
I
said.
am shocked. Sorry.
Previously, he said she had been killed by a heavy hatch cover when it fell and hit her in the head. So which is it, Dolph? I kind of feel like his credibility is not really there anymore. I
I
can't take anything he says seriously, and he's got to be the worst client. If you're a lawyer, like
oh yeah, it must be
the
terrible
only
for
person worse than this guy to be a lawyer for has got to be Donald Trump.
yeah, now that you mention it.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, I would just give up. Just fucking find another lawyer.
Do you think O.J. Simpson's lawyers could get him away from this? Could
Maybe if they could get him to shut up. I mean,
yeah.
isn't that the first advice lawyers give you? Don't talk to police. And the first thing he did is start telling them stories about stuff, which was obviously a lie. I mean, I guess that was his game plan. He was going to lie about it and hope his lie was so convincing he got away with it and nobody looked into anything any further.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of those things that either works or it doesn't. And obviously, in his case, I don't think it did.
So I mean, I'm not an expert on this subject,
Mm-hmm.
but if she died from carbon monoxide poisoning,
Why did she have 14
no,
stab wounds in her
well,
genitals?
I'm not even going that far. I'm saying it should be easy to at least assess that, right? I mean,
Apparently not.
it's not.
Apparently not. No.
Oh.
Well, experts concur that proving Swedish journalist Kim Wall died as a result of carbon monoxide poisoning, a new claim made by the submariner Peter Madsen, could be difficult because her body parts spent so long in the water. So forensics will carry out some tests and see about that, but I guess it is not as easy as you think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it chose it. It really feels a bit Trumpish, right?
Does it?
I
It's
think
like a distraction tactic or what?
no, I don't think it's a distraction. I think it's just, it's kind of like, I'm going too well for this. It's kind of like someone with ADD, like that kind of Homer Simpson thing where, oh, shiny, and you just divert your attention completely.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like,
A distraction.
well, maybe they firmly believe it.
Who? Who would
Well,
believe this?
actually, Madsen can't believe it. He knows what.
Yeah,
what
she died
happened.
of carbon monoxide poisoning, which is why she's cut up in 8 different pieces and has 14 stab wounds in her genitals. Because the first thing you think about when somebody dies of carbon monoxide is to cut their body up and mutilate them.
I'm not going to try to play devil's advocate on this one.
Yeah,
this is just
there's no more advocate to play on this
No.
one. This dude is a Looney Tune, I think, and sick and deranged, and it's fucked up what happened. And yeah, I think he'd just say anything at this point. Maybe he just likes the spotlight. Maybe he's really been enjoying being in the spotlight. I mean, I can't imagine any other reason that he keeps coming out with these things. I mean, how would that change anything?
Maybe as a problem. Well, it certainly has a problem, but maybe as some kind of
sickness or something,
some issues,
some mental issues
that made him a bit less aware of lies that don't make sense. Or
like a compulsive liar or something. Because there are people that are there are people that have like a compulsive lying problem. Because I mean, one thing is like once you lie, you kind of have to continue to lie to perpetuate it. Like you can never give up on the lie at that point, or you have to lie and change it in some other way. So maybe it's just that. Maybe he just started off on the wrong foot and just can't really dig himself out of it now.
I know, but you need to lack some self-awareness to say something like this, right?
I wonder if he listens to the podcast.
Peter, hello.
Just give up, man. Just stop with the stories. Just tell it like it is, dude.
Hey, if you listen to this podcast, at least say something about it so we can get some exposure as well. Come on, just say something fucked up. I don't care.
That's fucked up, man. All right, I'm done with Peter. We've done quite a few episodes on him
for this week. I'm sure it's not the last we've heard of him for.
No. It certainly is not. What else? I need to take a real piss.
You do?
Yeah. You want to read this article while I go take care of business, and I'll be back in just a minute? You think
this article is a bit boring? Do you have anything else for me to read?
Yeah. We can find something for you. What do we got? Oh, look how exciting that one is.
All right, I don't care. Just go for it. Just go. Right. I can read this. It's very exciting. It reads: Copenhagen enjoys record cruise ship season. 850,000 passengers visit the Danish capital this year. Which I find very interesting. Copenhagen is apparently high up on the list of cities that cruise ship tourists are keen to visit. So much, in fact, that 850,000 passengers have embarked from 325 cruise ships to take in the Danish capital so far this year. Easily a new record. I've never I've never taken the ferry here. I mean, even either a ferry to come here or to the one to Norway. I do understand why people would want to come visit here. And if I was in, how do you call it, in Norway, if I was in Oslo, I could see myself coming here every once in a while. It's a nice city to visit. It's not as cold as, from what I hear, as Norway. Like the weather is actually better here. It's cheaper. So just like if I was one day away or a few hours away from, let's say, Portugal, I'd probably take some weekends there. And I don't know if that's actually what's happening here, but I think that might be part of it. Aida Vita was the final cruise ship to dock at Langolini during the summer season. Now, 6 Christmas and New Year cruises are expected before the season is completely over. Okay, so this is people coming here for Christmas and New Year's in a cruise.
Sounds pretty good.
You think it's old people mostly for it?
Coming here for a cruise in the Christmas?
Well, the thing is, if people are coming here for Christmas and New Year's,
Mm-hmm. They probably don't have much family.
yeah,
Or unless they're coming with their family.
yeah, but nobody's gonna take a cruise with their family, are they?
I don't know. I actually heard that, you know how you have the Christmas parties at work and everything here?
Mm-hmm.
I heard that was at least previously sort of common for people to take like a booze cruise kind of around like I've seen some ads around here on the metro that you can basically take a kind of a Christmas party booze cruise where you get on this ferry to Oslo or this cruise ship to Oslo
Yeah.
and just get wrecked. And I think that there are some coworkers of ours that basically talked about how like when they were younger that I think it was maybe somewhat common or almost like a bit of a rite of passage once you got to a certain age to take one of these kind of Oslo ferry booze cruises where you just get on and just
Meet a
get
nice
drunk
girl
and meet other people your age, maybe Norwegian, maybe Danish,
for a
and have
quick
a good time.
rendezvous.
Yeah, a little.
That's the thing. I'd like to know the demographics of people that take these cruises.
Have you ever been on a cruise ship?
No.
I have not either.
Well, I've never. I've boarded. No, I don't even think I've boarded one without it taking off.
Like a legit cruise ship. I mean, one of those ships that basically takes more than like 1,000 people.
No.
No.
I haven't.
I haven't either. I can see the appeal of it. I mean,
I could see the appeal depending on the demographics.
yeah, like you, for instance, a strapping, handsome young lad, you wouldn't want to be stuck on a cruise ship with like 1,070-year-old pensioners.
No, I know someone who might, but not me. No, not me.
You'd rather be on like the party boat.
Yes. Even though I'm not really the super enthusiastic party guy, but at least I could find something appealing there.
You'd rather be around that environment than
Yes, for sure.
than like a retirement
sure.
home type feeling.
Maybe some kind of, yeah. Maybe I feel a bit more like a hippie. If there was a hippie cruise, going around with people just with dreadlocks, just
Rastafarian cruise.
just smoking some weed and playing ukulele.
Yeah,
I don't know why I said ukulele instead of guitar. It's easier to transport.
maybe go see some sightings of
Basic-
reggae shark.
Basically, if there was Christiania in a cruise, I think I would be willing to take that cruise out of my own accord
Hey, you got
anywhere in the
a
world.
new business idea. You know,
How are the rules about international waters and
well, I
smoking?
mean, I think in international waters, yeah, the law is pretty much just international maritime law, but I think that probably a lot of that other stuff is relaxed.
So, if we had a drone
But the
anchored in the middle of the sea with some weed, and then whenever the boat took off the cruise took off into international waters, the drone just lifted and dropped the weed, because then the weed would always be in international waters.
but
So
you
it's
have
not
to get it there.
breaking-
But you have to get it there somehow. So eventually, you have to cross.
Yeah, but if you just buy it in somewhere where it's legal, like in
Yeah, well, that's what I was actually getting
States.
at. Is now you have all this cannabis tourism in the States and people that go to Colorado. It's been a huge boon for their tourism industry. But as that becomes more legal, you already see these things where you can take like a cannabis limo, basically where they'll drive you around while you smoke in the limo. I mean, you'll probably see like a cannabis cruise at some point.
They give you like a fake gold necklace as well, or
No,
some griddles or whatever you call it.
you can look up the Anderson Cooper episode where the reporter gets high. It's like they send her out to do a story on the legal weed thing, and she follows like a grandma around, like an old like 60 or 70-year-old lady around that goes into the shop and buys like some legal weed and then rides around in some limo smoking it. And she actually gets legitimately high in there.
Contact high, or she actually
Well,
smokes it?
that's the funniest part of the video. Just look up Anderson Cooper reporter gets high. Anderson's like after the episode, he's talking to her and he's like, you seem pretty happy. How extensive was your research in the back of that limo? And she was like, well, Anderson, I can tell you, I feel something. And she's like, assuring him that it's just a contact high, but you never know.
It could be though.
Absolutely.
I've seen
Absolutely it
I've
could.
seen people who were clearly high, or I've been with people who were clearly high, and they were not. They were just in the same room as me and some other friends, and they didn't smoke at all, but they were clearly under the influence of it. So it could have been. I like to always give the benefit of the doubt for.
Yeah.
You might call me naive, but
Yeah.
I guess that's why I like to play devil's advocate as well.
I might call you naive.
Yeah, and you wouldn't be the first one.
So there you go.
Record cruise ship season.
That record cruise ship season. We should go on a cruise sometime.
Yeah, I'm
up for it.
Go to Oslo, stay there a night or two, and come back.
Take one of those party boats to Oslo. Yeah. I wouldn't mind doing that. I mean, I don't want to go on like some really super long ordeal, but less than like a weekish or less than a week.
Mhm.
I mean, there and back and everything.
Do you think a cruise could be a good, like, let's say, if you want to just take some time away to be creative, like to make tracks or to write some music or to whatever the fuck you want to create, like paint, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think a cruise is a good environment for that.
I would think that probably not, depending on, of course, it depends on how long you're on the cruise. But if you only take a couple of week cruise, I feel like there's going to be too many other activities and things that are interesting you.
You think there's too many interesting things in a cruise?
Yeah, potentially, because you're going to go, because I mean, they don't just stay stationary. You're constantly going to different ports of call where they let you out and you can explore, I don't know, this beautiful
Yeah.
island or some other place. So, yeah, and they have activities on the boat. I mean, you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's a lot of drinking involved. There's pools, there's fitness centers, there's all this stuff to do on board. I think a lot of them have like a mini casino or gambling situation. Part of it is trying to get the people on the cruise together and interacting, like dancing and singing or whatever. So I just think personally, if you're looking for that kind of like isolated, out in the middle of nowhere, or just leave it all behind and try to like work on something creative, I don't think a cruise is probably the right place. But then again, what do I know? I've never been on one. It's just my impression though.
Yeah. All right.
And people might complain that your guitar is annoying.
That's another dream shattered.
How to annoy
Well,
your cruise ship
I
neighbors.
wasn't talking just about music. It could be just writing. If you're a writer
Sure.
and you want to write
Sure.
the next big Danish novel.
But how good is like an airplane, like a 13-hour international flight for writing?
But airplanes are pretty uncomfortable.
Okay.
I mean, you're not comfortable in an airplane, and at least in a cruise, you have. I assume you have your own room.
Well, you
I'm
can
actually not
you
sure
can
about
be
that.
comfortable in a plane if you have business or first class. Absolutely. I've flown first class one time in my life, and it was like a Houston to Washington flight, and it was totally worth it because it only cost me like $100 to upgrade the ticket because I guess they just hadn't sold enough of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like special offer, like $100 to upgrade to first class. I was like, I've never flown first class. I'm going to try it. And I did. And I was really happy that I did because it was awesome. And if I could afford it when I flew, like, in other words, if either I was way richer or if it was more reasonable to do, I would absolutely fly first class or business class everywhere because, dude, you actually get leg room. You can actually lay your chair out and sleep in it like a bed.
Mm-hmm.
You have your own personal like area. You have so much more space. You have your own armrests where you don't have to fight with the guy in the middle for the fucking armrest. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it just made me realize I don't think I ever took first class in a plane.
Only once in my entire life. Dude, if you ever get a chance to upgrade to it for kind of cheap like I did, it's totally worth it.
Also,
I would never spend like thousands of dollars on it like people do though.
no, I mean, I would also be more likely to do it if it was a really long flight. Because
Yep.
if it's like a 2 hour flight or 3 hour flight, okay, fine. If it's cheap enough, I guess I could. But it's really when you really get the returns of it is when you have to stay in an airplane for like
Yeah.
13 hours or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That gets
But
really
those are the
expensive.
ones that are $7,000 for the ticket. Yeah.
What is $7,000 in
Compared to your comfort and your armrest.
and your health for it?
I don't know, Dolph.
There
When
you
did we
go.
start this?
Cruise. I don't know. I was actually thinking.
I'm trying to look. I think it's been
Um,
about an hour and a half.
it's probably been around there. Yeah.
So
So are you saying we don't have anything more interesting to talk about?
oh, that's never the case. I think we could easily go on for another 2 hours talking. But the question is, well, okay, first off, the real problem is that once we get to a certain episode length, it becomes difficult for us to export it. But I mean, do you got any closing remarks?
Hmm.
That's what I'm looking for.
Closing remarks. No, be good to each other, I guess.
Trim your candle wicks.
Oh man, okay, let me just say this is completely unrelated to anything. But last weekend it was UFC 217.
Yeah. Oh, you finally got the results on that fight that you didn't want to
Holy
get spoiled.
shit. If anyone okay, you kind of I was going to say it was such a perfect event for anyone who might be curious about MMA but doesn't really think they like it, because it was so fucking exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that part of the reason why it was exciting is because I knew all those people already because there
Mm-hmm.
were 3 championship fights. So if they're just random strangers to you, it's not gonna have the same impact. But I have to say for it, I have it last weekend's UFC 217 might very well have been the best UFC of all time. It was amazing. The whole thing. There were so many upsets. There were 3 title fights. There were champions dethroned. There were comebacks from GSP, the old champion. There was at least on the pay-per-view, so on the last 5 fights, there was one decision. So everything else was knockouts or submissions.
Yeah.
So there were
That's always exciting.
yeah, it didn't go to a judge's decision. Oh my fucking god, it was such a good event. It was quite possibly the best event I've ever seen.
Well, I'll have to watch it at some point. I only saw some of the highlights from the GSP fight, but
GSP looked great. It looked great. And I've seen some interviews with him afterwards. He went on the MMA Hour and things like that. And I just love GSP, He's just so just his personality.
yeah, I also always like it when a fight starts to get a little bloody. When one of the guys gets cut and there's some blood involved, I feel like I feel like it changes the not just from a spectator's perspective, just because there's blood, right?
Mhm.
But it changed something in the fighters, depending on the fighter. Like for instance, like you look at the Diaz brothers, and it's like they haven't even really started fighting until they start bleeding.
Yeah.
Like it triggers some like primal instinct in their mind. Okay, this guy has cut me. Like he's trying to hurt me. He's trying to kill me. Like I got to go for the jugular now. It's
Forrest Griffin was a bit like that as
yeah,
well. He
yeah,
he didn't really start fighting until he ate like a good 1 or 2 punches in the fucking nose, or
yeah,
it was already
yeah.
bleeding, and that's when he really started.
So I like those fights when it gets a little bloody.
But some might say that that just bleed mentality is one of the reasons why so many people are turned off by MMA. Because, for example, my mom loves sports, almost any kind of sport. She
Yeah.
even got into judo in the last Olympics because we got a fuck, was it silver or bronze? We got a medal,
Okay.
silver or bronze medal, because we have a really good
For the
judo
Portuguese.
woman. Yeah.
Okay.
So my mom got into judo during the Olympics because first she had someone to root for, the
Mm-hmm.
Portuguese Telma, and and with the commentators kind of explaining the what was going on,
Yeah.
she could understand more what was happening. Because if you just see two people grappling, doing jujitsu or judo, and you
Mhm.
don't know the rules or what's really happening, like why they're
Yeah.
trying to not
It's hard to
to put the
understand.
hands here or there,
Yeah.
it could seem boring. Because it's much easier to understand someone trying to punch each other. Because well, that's easy. So anyway, my mom loves sports, but she it, it she can't really get into MMA because of the blood factor, you know? Like
Mhm.
it's confusing to her. Like she doesn't want to watch people bloody.
Yeah.
And I would say that maybe that's part of the reason why MMA, well, it has taken off quite a lot, but
Oh,
why it could
it's
have been
huge
taken off
growth.
even more.
I don't know. I think you might be right to some extent. I think that most of the bleeding that you see in UFC type fights or MMA type fights, that stuff is fairly superficial. Those fighters have fought so many times and had little cuts that it's easy for those cuts to reopen. Most of them are not a significant risk to health, and it simply looks bad. A lot
Mhm.
of people just don't deal well with seeing blood because
Yeah.
you don't see it very common, and people have this fainting type response to it. I forget the technical name for it, but when you feel like lightheaded or like you're gonna faint when you see blood, especially your own, um, you're probably right. But if you've watched enough MMA, you know that those guys, like
Oh yeah, it's just
that
part of
little
the
bit of
deal.
blood
Yeah, it
is
doesn't mean
literally just a
much.
superficial deal.
Yeah.
The real injuries happen when people, break bones or have like internal damage to organs
Hmm.
from like liver shots or like, they'll be.
Or even getting knocked out. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
but you get knocked out in boxing as well, and
Sure.
people seem to be much more okay with boxing than with MMA. Some people, because of the blood thing,
Yeah, I guess. I
or
mean,
it makes it seem more violent. You have to give it that though.
I guess so.
And for me, that was part of the original appeal of
Yeah.
it. But there is this fan, like the Just Bleed fan, which I think all of us have a little bit of it, because I
D-
do enjoy
don't get me
a
wrong.
good bloodbath.
For me, it's nothing about the actual blood. Like, if there was blood or not, it doesn't matter. What I do see change in certain fighters is the way they fight when blood is either they draw blood or they start bleeding.
Hmm.
Even if the wound is really mostly just superficial or maybe causing some vision problems for a guy, it's like hard for him to see because his eyeball is covered in his own blood or something. But I mean, it's the way they change, So I think for the most part, I don't really care that the blood is there. That's not what I look for. But like the thing with the Diaz brothers or the Forrest Griffin, those guys just seem to get activated and turned on
Hmm.
and go to another level. Like turn it all the way up to 10 whenever their blood is in the water or
Yeah.
whatever.
Also, like you mentioned, in the beginning, like when I started watching MMA, yeah, the blood never really bothered me too much, but I would be a lot more like, "Holy shit, is he okay?"
Yeah,
And after watching so much MMA and seeing that, yeah, okay, it's just blood, you know.
yeah,
If you fall and you get blood on your elbow, you're not going to be like, "Holy shit, is he-" I mean, yeah, maybe you'll be like, "Is he okay?" But you're not going to be worried about the future of
yeah.
that person.
But if you took a rookie or a completely inexperienced person in MMA, put him in the match, and they get hit one time and they start bleeding, they'd be like, "Oh, stop the fight! Hold on, I'm bleeding." These professional guys don't give a fuck, They're like, it's nothing. So
So yeah, I mean, even though it can seem bloody, those people are generally okay as you can be, at least from
yeah,
being
I mean,
in a
sometimes
fucking fist fight.
sometimes the cut is really bad, like the location of it is really bad around the eye, maybe, or yeah, causing problems with breathing or like eyesight and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And in those cases, usually there's either a short stoppage or sometimes they simply just can't really stem the bleeding and it has to
Oh yeah,
stop the fight. There's been
there's
stoppages.
doctor stoppages for
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
when the doctor doesn't deem the fighter good enough to keep fighting, or
yeah,
that it could pose a serious risk to him.
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that UFC,
Oh
even
jeez,
though it's already
I
done
love
and I
MMA.
know some of the results, but
I love MMA. It's so fucking
we
exciting.
should rewatch it sometime.
Yeah, I'll rewatch that card anytime.
All right.
It's so fucking good.
Until
I could
next
go on.
time.
I could have a whole fucking podcast
Oh, I
talking
know.
about that.
In a
I know
way,
you've been trying to shut me up
I'm
for the
trying to
past 10
cut you off.
minutes.
Yeah, because if you want to do an MMA
No, let's
podcast,
go.
we should do a separate
Yeah,
podcast.
let's just end this with the cruises and the the
All right.
eyebrows, and I'll see you guys next week, right?
Yeah,
If
sounds
every-
good. Next week. Yeah, hopefully we don't have another 2-week gap. There you go.
No gaps for us for it.
See you next time.
Bye bye.